If I say rock, you know what I'm talking about. A stone, a pebble, any of these things have associated with them very definite images. They are labels. We use these labels to help identify things so that we know what one wants when they mention a stone. If I said I tripped over a thing on the way to work this morning, the most you understand is that I tripped. If I say I tripped over a rock, a certain image appears in your mind in relation to the message I have expressed. This is the beginnings of our knowledge: labels, names, identifiers, nouns. The word used doesn't matter so long as we agree upon what the word is identifying. Knowledge for this reason is demonstrable. If you use a label that I don't recognize, you can point to the object of which it labels. I could pick up a stone to show you what it is. Labels, however, are not always applied to things that can be pointed to. A unicorn, for example, it is generally accepted that they don't exist, yet we have a very definite image that springs to mind of a horse or goat, usually white, with a single horn growing from its forehead. There are paintings and worded descriptions of unicorns that using various labels allowing us to imagine what these magnificent beings look like, but beyond pointing at a depiction we cannot point at a unicorn and say this is a unicorn. As such, we know of the concept of a unicorn, but we cannot know a unicorn. When theists claim that they know God, or that they know God exists, they are claiming that they know more than just a concept of what they claim to be God, but that they can actually demonstrate God. The thing is, the ancient Egyptians could point to something and say that is God. God to them was Pharaoh, the king. They knew their God. But their God is not the same concept as other cultures' gods. The label God is less an actual person or thing, as much as it describes something supernatural. If not for God, the world would fall apart. He is the builder, the maintainer, the ruler, and ultimately he is the explanation. For the Greeks, Zeus was the hurler of lightning bolts, great magical spears that at the time they could not otherwise explain. For the Norse, this same role was filled by the god Thor. For the same reason, the people of these cultures could point at the lightning, or indicate the sound of thunder, and say that is the god Thor or Zeus. As our understanding of the world and its workings grew, the need for these gods to explain natural phenomena diminished, and the worship of such beings dwindled. But the worship of the concept God has not, it has instead had to change. Theist is another label to denote those who believe in a god or gods. But just as the geologist wants more specific labels for more specific rocks, it is important to note that theist is a very general term. Christians are a particular set of theists who believe in the description of God as presented in the Bible. On the other hand are Hindus of India who believe in multiple gods. It is important to note this, because the label God is a general label. While the Christians also use it as a title, and therefore a specific label, it causes confusion, because there are many concepts of gods. Most other concepts are named, which helps to identify their concept. Even the label Christian becomes a general term when one realizes there are Catholics, Mennonites, Baptists, Quakers, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Evangelicals, and many others who, while all believe in the same description of God, all still have differing ideas about God. Differences that range from the name of the God to how we are supposed to carry out His will, or even how many chapters the Bible actually has, and who founded their particular church. It seems to me that, if God were real, we'd have something that we could all point at to say that is God. And if we could point to it, and so label it, we wouldn't have so many differing ideas about what God is, or even what God wants, assuming God is anything more than an inanimate object. In ancient times, people had carvings and masks, items that today we call idols, and these idols alternately represented a god, or were actually the god to which one prayed. Such an inanimate object is certainly not going to have a will of its own. So here's the thing, theists. If you're going to tell me God exists, and that you know it, one of the things that I will want is something you can point at to say this is God. Alternately, if you can demonstrate that He's real, I'll accept that. Answering a specific and detailed prayer immediately upon request would be good too, but not just for something that could be coincidental. Ask for a unicorn to appear before us right now. If you can do that, you'll make a believer out of me. Anything less remains a concept only, and you can believe anything you want about your concept, but you cannot demand that I agree with it, or that I have to do what it says. Finally, if you can't demonstrate God's existence, are you willing to admit that you might be in error? And before you decide to use this argument against me, evolution is demonstrable. While I don't have the means to demonstrate it myself, I don't have to. Have a gander at users Aaron Ra, Don Exodus 2, CDK007, and Thunderfoot. They have many videos between them demonstrating not only evolution, but also other theories that apologists tend to have difficulty with, including the Big Bang Theory, abiogenesis, and gravitational theory. These theories are demonstrable, there is no faith involved, and they are science. What's even more amazing is that even with these theories being demonstrable and essentially known fact, is that scientists still have the humility to admit they might be wrong.